Yeah, good morning, everybody. My name is Sauer from Webtrekk, the founder of Webtrekk. Did it for 13 years now, and thanks for having me. I think it's kind of interesting that we, as an analytics company, are for the first time here, and actually that we also see not that many contact points with the edtech industry we see at the moment. So the distinction between edtech and martech is quite obvious in these days. And what do I want to talk about today? I want to talk about data ownership. I want to talk about the future. We've just seen what we can do with the data in the present. I want to talk about 2020. Looking back, what was the differentiator? We heard that a couple of times today. It's first-party data and data ownership. So let me take you through this journey. Imagine 3-4 years from now, and we're looking back. What was the differentiator? What did we do different than others? Because to be honest, I think the market, we should be honest with ourselves, is not heading in a very nice direction. We've read a lot of times that for edtech especially, it's winter. Growth, I think in last quarter, market growth was covered by Google and Facebook for 103%, which I think is kind of interesting. So, what can we do about this? Today, a lot of us are using third-party data. So, what is third-party data? Imagine you're one of the brands in the middle, and you're collecting information. What's happening today? We see a lot of information collection in third-party data pools on top, so collecting information about the user from every brand you're visiting. First-party data, nevertheless, is something that you're collecting for yourself, for your own brand, for your own purpose, and it's yours. The privacy impact, obviously, is also different. We have a picture of third-party data. It looks like this. It's a third-party data pool. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, who's taking advantage of such a pool? Obviously the owner of that pool, maybe dermatologists and urologists. So you did something right. You had a differentiator. And what could that look like? It could be first party. Obviously it's first party data. It's an ingredient to your data business. Where does third-party data come from? It comes from many places. It comes from a lot of websites. It's not your data alone. You share it with somebody else, and that's something I really want to talk to you about. And that's my message. If you believe you are data-driven because you're using somebody else's data and tool, I think you are not. You just know how to use a tool that somebody's offering you. That's the difference. So, if you build up your own data, you will make a differentiation. It comes from your visitor, and you shouldn't give it away easily. There are different ways of legal and technical ways to look at this. So, obviously, there's a first-party and third-party cookie, which is a technical way to look at it. If you look at a legal standpoint, we see there are many companies using third-party cookies, and they are a third party to your business. Where we see a lot of value is that other companies actually help you to enhance your own data and build up your own data store, which would be the lower left quarter. What I think is also interesting, if you look at the GAFAs, they have already realized that they are not giving away their data in real time to anybody who's asking for it. So if you use Ghostery to look at the GAFA websites, you will probably find very few other technologies tracking the information. They tell you it's for data privacy reasons, which I think is funny in a way, because I think probably the biggest threat to data privacy are these companies themselves. If you look at a lot of other websites, we've seen that before, you will see the right hand with, in average, I think 100 technologies collecting information about your customer. So, 5 reasons why you shift to first-party data. First, ad blocking, we heard about it. The data quality of third-party data collection is decreasing. In average, third-party data is losing 15 to 20% due to blocking. Very interesting because the blockers are mainly used by young male target groups, so you're not losing 15% across all target groups. You're losing a very interesting target group which is just more technically interested. Another reason is obviously the data privacy regulation we heard today. There is a big differentiation between first and third party data collection. If you think of first party as being optimal for usability, third party is a risk to data privacy. Already today there is a lot of technologies that restrict third party data collection, like Safari browsers, for example. Also, we have seen in the past a tendency to look at a cost per order measure, and I believe it's a lot more interesting and it makes a lot more sense to look at a customer lifetime value approach. So it would be very helpful to collect your first party data to measure your customer lifetime value instead of only buying your customer for every transaction over and over again. And the last reason, also very interesting, you see increasing costs for your cheapest marketing channels, especially Google and Facebook. And I think the only real differentiation you can have by optimizing other channels, and these channels especially, is building up your own data storage. So obviously you did everything right in 2020. Yeah, you have all the good stuff, and now I don't want to stand in between you and the coffee break. Please, take this message from me. If we keep on sending our data to other parties, we shouldn't wonder why we're out of business in 5 years from now. Thank you.
Any question? No.
Hi, my question is about STDs in Chicago. The mapping that you did was obviously very interesting, and it seemed to confirm a hypothesis that you might have had already, that there's a high prevalence of STDs in low-income and otherwise deprived areas. But did your analysis show anything that was more surprising the other way? Did you find high-income areas with high STDs? Did you find low-income areas that didn't have high STDs? And were you able to investigate some of the reasons for those local anomalies, I guess?
Yeah, actually, we started off thinking that areas with younger demographics would have higher STD rates. There's concentrations of neighborhoods where people graduate from college and they move to. So honestly, our assumption, our hypothesis was that people that moved there would have a higher rate. The other data set that we're actually looking at was licenses for bars and restaurants, because we wanted to see if there's a correlation between people going on dates and STDs. We were honestly going for a BuzzFeed style thing in traditional PR style. What ended up happening was we found this public health issue that's more on a socioeconomic level.
First of all, I really liked that presentation on Chicago STDs. That was really good. A question for Christian and a remark. I do see why third-party data is going to be more challenging in the future environment, given GDPR, EPD, all that. What I would like to understand is, how do you see first-party data and third-party together in terms of covering the whole value chain of data acquisition. And what I did not understand, because I think it's quite the contrary, is that you said, if you are sharing your data with others, don't wonder if you're out of business. Sorry, I think it's quite the opposite. If you're unwilling and unable to share your data with other people in your ecosystem, that is what is going to put you out of business. Can you please explain why you think it's not that way?
Sure. So the first part is, I think there are different incentives between you as an advertiser and your data partners. Look at customers that come to your site every day and will buy products for you every day, for example. All the data that your data partners will show you is that these customers are actually the best customers you should target, because the CPO is low, all the data shows it's great. But in the end, probably you shouldn't address these customers from a brand perspective, because they're coming to you anyhow. So you shouldn't spend money on them. We've seen a couple of brands using retargeting a lot, for example, because this is the channel that is the cheapest. And in the end, all the new customer acquisition costs went up, and they were only focusing on retargeting, and therefore more or less making their brand invaluable, because people were just fed up with the advertisement. So there, I believe, there are different incentives for you as an advertiser and for the data that you see. And to your second question, obviously it is important to connect information. But what is happening today is that there are 2 or 3 companies that pretty much have all the information out there, and it is going to be really, really difficult for any other technology to live up to that and keep up with it. I think if we go on like this, we will have difficulties in getting to a same data quality level as we have right now, or as these companies have. We will probably not be able to do that. I don't see anybody.
I think I have a loud enough voice, though. I do see that it's going to be very hard to catch up with companies like Google and Facebook in terms of collection of data. But shouldn't we then just, or especially the advertisers, the ones that have the money, put pressure on those companies to more effectively share their data instead of reducing ourselves to our own data pools? Wouldn't that make more sense?
Well, I just want to make everybody aware that the data we give to them is a lot more, there's a lot more value to it than what we receive. We receive free tools and we receive customers which are 5% cheaper than before, but we give all the information away. And I just want to make everybody aware that the information we give away might be worth a lot more than we think.
Sort of a related question, but I was wondering if you could speak to best practices of how to use or to work with ad agencies as a custodian or user of the data, of first-party data, or manager of the data sets.
Yeah, we're talking to a lot of agencies, and most of you actually haven't started telling the customer to take advantage of their own data yet. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm trying to bring over that message, because I think it's important. We've seen a couple of agencies trying to help the customers to realize, okay, where are we? Are you a big customer or a small customer? If you're, 10% market leader, it might not make too much sense to give your data into a big pool. If you're a challenger with like 0.2% market share, it's obviously it makes a lot of sense to give your data into a pool, because you will receive more data in return. But if you're a market leader, if you're one of the first 5 or 10 in the market, you should think about it and get money for it. And I can share maybe personally a couple of examples, but not in public.
Okay, coffee break is waiting.